Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome everyone to Akshaya Tritiya celebrations at Sri Radha. So we will have a short discussion on this kind of festivals. Before that, we'll start with Om Jnana Tasya Jnananjana Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachari Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Asyapadeshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So how many of you celebrated this festival before today? Did you celebrate? Okay, very few hands. Not many. Okay. So neither I celebrated this festival before. So this is, I think, for the first time we are also celebrating in a larger scale at the temple here. So it is quite important whenever we celebrate festivals. It is important that we understand why we celebrate the festivals and how do we celebrate the festival too. So Akshaya Tritiya happens to be a very important day, and there are various pastimes which have happened on this particular day. Usually people in general consider this day to be a very auspicious day for new beginnings, and therefore they do various things. Some of them buy gold, some of them buy shares, some of them go and do Gruha Pravesha, and in some place it is said that this is one of the day where you don't have to ask a Brahmana for a good muhurta to get married. So people tend to also marry on this day. So in this way, there are for various reasons this day is considered to be auspicious. But we will look through some more aspects of how to consider this to be auspicious and how we can also do a new beginning, but in a slightly different way. So the word Akshaya, the word Kshaya means which diminishes. So in this world, everything diminishes. Which is the greatest force in this world? Time, yes. Kala. Kala is very powerful. It crushes everything, it diminishes everything. One may be rich one day, but in due course of time, if not at the point of death, he is no more left with anything that belongs to him. So the force of time is so strong that everything diminishes. The wealth diminishes, the health diminishes, knowledge also diminishes for most common people, that as we grow old our strength diminishes, and the whole endeavor in this material world is not to make it diminish. That's the whole struggle for existence. So there is a force which is pulling things down, and there is another counter force that we are all applying with all our energy so as to save that thing which is diminishing. And that's the whole struggle everyone is doing, endeavoring. So how do we understand this? If everything is going to get diminished, is there anything that is not going to be diminished? If that is so, what is that and how do we save that? Because after all, you don't want to invest somewhere your time and energy and at the end of the day realize that it has gone. It is no more yours. Right? So we will try to look a small pastime, and we will see how that is demonstrated through a story. But before I go there, today happens Akshaya Tritiya is connected with so many historic events. There are one of the most important pastime is Brahmana Sudama. He goes and visits his friend Lord Krishna in Dwaraka. So this is a very important pastime which is depicted in Krishna book. Very nicely Srila Prabhupada explains. The devotion of Sudama Brahmana is so touching. His wife forces him. She says, "Oh, we don't have things in our house. We are struggling so much. Your friend is a king. Why don't you ask him to get something so that we don't have to go through this struggle?" Yet Sudama was so devoted to the Lord that he carries something for him, but he never asks him anything in return. Yet when he comes back to his place, he was surprised to see what happened there. He thought, did I come to the right place? What has happened here? Looks like some demigods or goddess of Lakshmi is coming. Who is this? What is this palace? How these things have changed? How come these gardens have come? And so on and so forth. So it is said, Srila Prabhupada says, that when Krishna takes away, he takes away with 10 hands. And when he gives with 10 hands. That we cannot hold that much. So this is a very wonderful pastime which depicts the devotion of Sudama towards Lord Krishna. Then this day also marks the beginning of Chandan Yatra, or the deities in Vrindavan and many other places are covered with chandan or sandalwood paste. So there is a wonderful pastime of Madhavendra Puri, a great devotee of Lord and the grand spiritual master of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he was such a great devotee that the Lord appears in his dream and asks him to get chandan so as to cool his body. So he was so devoted that although he was in old age, he didn't mind to travel all the way. So the specific kind of sandalwood that was asked was from the Malaya hills. So the Malaya hills, Prabhupada says one is in Nilgiri hills, that is southwest, and the other place is Malaysia. But in this case, Madhavendra Puri goes to Orissa to fetch sandalwood paste. And it is very interesting to see how devoted he was, that even though in his old age, and he goes there to collect the sandalwood, and then the Lord recognizes that during that time there were the government officials who were Muslims, and the rule was under Muslim rule. So they would stop people who carry camphor and chandan, and they would trouble devotees who would carry these things. Also there would be rogues, thieves in the forest who would try to steal this valuable sandalwood. So the Lord, seeing this extreme devotion of Sri Madhavendra Puri, the Lord says, okay, you can apply to Gopinath, Shirachora Gopinath, this, and I'll accept that so the Lord Gopala in Vrindavan, he asks for this chandan, but he says, okay, you apply there, and that is equivalent to applying to me. So this is another wonderful pastime that, so from today the Chandan Yatra begins, and various deities in Vrindavan and even in Bangalore, ISKCON Bangalore, the deities are applied with chandan. So this is another wonderful pastime. Then it is said Treta Yuga has begun on this day. So in this way, there are various pastimes of Parashurama. There are pastimes connected with this, and so on and so forth. Now, in this way, this day is considered very, very auspicious. So remembering these activities which took place on this day is very important to understand the significance of the day. Otherwise, we will not know what this festival is. We have very limited time, so we cannot get into the details of each of these pastimes. But in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 4th chapter, the description about Madhavendra Puri's pastime is described, and similarly in Krishna book towards the end, the pastime of Sudama is described. So it is good if one can read these pastimes to appreciate the significance of today. Furthermore, there is just now we did Mahalakshmi Homa, and we chanted the names, 108 names of goddess Mahalakshmi. So usually, as this day for most general people is a day where they would like to invest money, because Akshaya means which expands, inexhaustible. So the idea is that if I invest money, it is only going to grow, so let me find a way to invest, or let me do some charity so that in return I may get something which is inexhaustible. So this is what the most common understanding of worshipping Lakshmi means. For most common people, worshipping Lakshmi means I will immediately become very rich, or if not sooner but later I will become rich. And therefore Diwali and festivals like Akshaya Tritiya are considered very important for many people. But we will look from Srimad Bhagavatam, where Srila Prabhupada describes about Lakshmi Devi's prayers, and Prabhupada's purports are very interesting, and so are the prayers of Shri Lakshmi Devi. So we will look into that and see what she says about who becomes rich. So there is this chapter in 5th canto called The Residents of Jambu Dvipa Offered Prayers. So in this Residents of Jambu Dvipa, there are different portions, and there are different lords who are worshipped, and in one of those Mother Lakshmi, Goddess Lakshmi, offers prayers, and it says like this: Mat praptaye jesha sura asuradeyas tapyanta ugram tapa indriya diyaha rite bhavat pada parayanam namam vindanti aham tvad tridaya yato jita. So she is saying, Mat praptaye, to obtain my mercy. So everyone is trying to worship Goddess Lakshmi so that they can receive her mercy. And to receive her mercy, she says, people get absorbed in the thoughts of material enjoyment, and now they want to get the mercy of Srimati Lakshmi Devi. And for that, what people do? People undergo various penances and austerities to receive my benedictions. So it is not easy to receive benedictions. You have to please the person from whom you want to get the benediction. So who are these people who worship and do so much penances and austerities to receive the benedictions of Mother Lakshmi? Sura, Asura, Adaya. So the demigods, the demons, Brahma, Shiva, all of them try to receive the benediction of Mother Lakshmi. But it is said, but I do not favor anyone, however great he may be. But she is saying, I do not favor them. But she says only in one condition she favors, but not in any other condition, even though they do a lot of penances and austerities. And the condition, she says, is that unless he is always engaged in the service of your lotus feet. So she is addressing this prayer to the Supreme Lord. So she is saying, unless he is always engaged in the service of your lotus feet, because I always keep you within my heart, I cannot favor anyone but a devotee. So she is saying, unless one is engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, Lord Vishnu, Narayana, if one does not render service, she does not offer benediction. So this is very important. So when people worship Lakshmi, they forget Narayana. But for Lakshmi Devi to give benediction, she likes to see a person who is devoted to Narayana so that she can bestow her mercy. So this is very important for all of us to understand, that we cannot receive the mercy of Lakshmi Devi without becoming a devotee of Lord Narayana. And in this purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that Srimati Lakshmi Devi does not favor any materialistic person. Then one may say, we see so many people who worship Lakshmi Devi and they become very rich and they seem to grow opulent in material ways. Then how do we see that? Although sometimes a materialist becomes very opulent in the eyes of another materialist, such opulence is bestowed upon him by the goddess Durga Devi, a material expansion of the goddess of fortune, not by Lakshmi Devi herself. So Prabhupada clarifies that when one becomes materially rich, especially in the case of a person who is materialist, who is only hankering after material gain, that benediction is not offered by Lakshmi Devi but by Durga Devi, who's an expansion of goddess Lakshmi Devi. Those who desire material wealth worship Durga Devi with the following mantra: Dhanam Dehi, Rupam Dehi, Rupapati Bhajam Dehi. O worshipful Mother Durga Devi, please give me wealth, strength, fame, a good wife, and so on. So Prabhupada says that by worshipping Durga Devi, one can get all these benedictions. But these benedictions are all temporary. Dhanam, the wealth, Rupam, good. Rupam Dehi, Rupapati Bhajam Dehi. So all these things, whether good wife, strength, fame, good looks, all these things are so temporary. So people who are trying to worship Durga can obtain such benefits, but they all lead to some sort of a happiness, which is called Maya Sukha. What is the outcome of all this? You may obtain all these things, but the outcome of all this is called Maya Sukha. That means the happiness is illusory. It is a sort of happiness in the mind, but not the real happiness. It looks nice that, if I buy another house, things will become so good. If I marry a good looking husband or a wife, things will become so nice. If I get a new car, life becomes more smoother. Recently I was traveling to the west coast, and one of the devotees was showing an autonomous car, and he was saying, now my life is so good. You see? So people think, in different ways how I can make my life better. So, but the problem is that his charger is not working. So he has to find any place. So we were supposed to travel one place, but then we added one more place to go. But then he has no charging in his car, so he has to stop in multiple places to get charged. So we think that, one thing might help us, but that may lead to another problem of different kind. So all these things are very, very temporary, and they do not lead us to what we really want. So in some sense, they give a certain sense of a mental happiness, but the real happiness is not obtained. Just like someone thinks, if I build a big skyscraper, I'll become very happy, but it is not true. It's only in the mind one feels for a moment happiness, but it is not. And therefore Prahlad Maharaj says, Maya Sukhaya Bharam Udvato Vimudhan. Those who work very hard for material benefits are Vimudhas, fools, rascals, because such happiness will not endure. So worshipping Lakshmi Devi for these things is actually, even if one is worshipping, the actual benefit or actual gain is given by Durga Devi. So on the other hand, so in that case, does it mean that Lakshmi Devi will never give us any benediction? So should we not do Lakshmi Homa next time and change to something else? No. So Prabhupada writes, but in case of devotees, she gives real benediction. And Prabhupada gives the example of Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruva Maharaj. They both had extraordinary material opulences. But this was not given by Durga Devi, but by Goddess Lakshmi Devi. When a devotee acquires unparalleled opulences, they are the direct gifts of the goddesses of fortune who resides in the heart of Narayana. So for a devotee, the opulences, even if one gets material opulences, that is not like the opulences of a materialist. For a materialist, the opulences become a hindrance to make spiritual advancement, to find real happiness. But for a devotee, even though one is bestowed with the blessings of great material opulences, they are not meant to hamper the spiritual advancement or the spiritual state of that devotee. And therefore, only for those who are worshippers of Lord Narayana and Krishna, Goddess Lakshmi actually favors them with all benedictions. So this is very important point. And Prabhupada further elaborates this point in other places also, that one should not separate Lakshmi and Narayana. So there is a tendency to only worship Lakshmi and not worship Narayana. And Prabhupada calls this as the mentality of Ravana. Ravana tried to abduct Mother Sita and try to capture. Similarly, sometimes people think that I will worship Lakshmi Devi and I will capture the wealth and I will become happy with that wealth. But Prabhupada says Ravana was not happy, rather he was vanquished because of separating Lakshmi or Sita Devi from Lord Rama. So similarly, Prabhupada says that if we just worship Lakshmi Devi and try to get some wealth and enjoy independently, that will not stay. But rather, that wealth we must recognize is actually coming from the Lord Himself, and it must be engaged in His service. So when Lakshmi Devi, the wealth that we obtain, is engaged in the service of the Lord Vishnu or Narayana and Krishna, then that is the actual use of the wealth. That means we are again bringing Lakshmi and Narayana together. Otherwise, we are just trying to enjoy. When we try to enjoy the wealth, what happens is our false conception of life increases. I am the proprietor. I am the owner. By my hard work, I can earn anything and I can live happily. This false conception of life becomes so strong that the real conception of life doesn't come into our perception. So, it is very important we must know how to utilize our wealth. Actually, it is very important to learn our desire management. Sometimes we think any desire that comes to me is a good desire, and we think we will hanker for that desire. But we do not know how, when someone is desiring for more wealth, and how that more wealth brings so much trouble because one does not know how to handle the wealth. Similarly, we ask for so many things, but we don't know how to handle them. So as soon as they come, we feel overwhelmed. So instead of having misdirected desires, we should actually purify our desires through the words of the Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Then real auspiciousness begins. Without purifying our desires, whatever we hanker for benedictions, we do not know. It's like, there's a nice story to explain how an old lady was carrying some wooden logs on her head, and she was walking, and at one point she was so tired that somehow she was not balancing it very well, and it fell down. So immediately she called for the Lord. Oh Lord, please come and help me. So the Lord actually came. But then what did she say? She said, can you please put them back on my head? So like that, we may pray, but we do not know what to pray for. Because our desires are not purified, what we pray, even on such auspicious occasions, we ask for something that only increases our burden. And we struggle. And then we think, why am I not getting benediction? You get the benediction, but the benediction that you asked is to carry more weight. So, it is very important that we must know how to engage our wealth in the service of the Lord. That is very important. Then, one does not become just like Sudama. He did not become poor because he just gave something to the Lord. Rather, he was benefited millions of times. So similarly, we have this false conception that if I give something, I will lose. That fear is so deep inside us. Somewhere or other, how do I protect? How do I protect? How do I protect? So that conception we need to give up, and that happens when we hear the words of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Then our desires get purified, our assets of different kinds are properly engaged. And there is another and Lakshmi Devi continues the prayer and she says, O infallible one, your lotus palm is the source of all benediction. Therefore your pure devotees worship it, and you very mercifully place your hand on their heads. I wish that you may also place your hand on my head, for although you already bear my insignia of golden streaks on your chest, I regard this honor as merely a kind of false prestige for me. You show your real mercy to your devotees, not to me. Of course, you are the supreme absolute controller, and no one can understand your motives. So here, Lakshmi Devi is saying that, who is more fortunate than her? A devotee receives the blessings from the palm of the Lord. And she says that is greater benediction than anything else. Even though she is residing on the chest of the Lord, she thinks that is not a great benediction. So, therefore, your pure devotees worship it, and you very mercifully place your hand on their heads. And she is asking for the same benediction. So, when we worship Lord Narayana, Lord Vishnu, Krishna, we actually receive the blessings of Lakshmi Devi. And there are more things that can be said in this regard, but I'll just go forward to just tell one interesting story from the life of Sanatana Goswami, and basically it talks about the greatest benediction. We all want to ask benedictions, we all want to do something today that would expand, that would become inexhaustible, but we should know what is that we should ask so that that becomes inexhaustible. And so this is a nice story which Prabhupada narrates, and this is about a Brahmana who sought some benediction from Lord Shiva. So this story will tell us what is the real benediction that we should seek for. So once a poor Brahmana worshipped Lord Shiva to get the best benediction, hoping for the solution to all his problems. Lord Shiva is known as Midushtama, the best of the benedictors, and many materialistic people approach him to fulfill their desires. But for this Brahmana, Lord Shiva granted the best benediction for his spiritual life. So usually when we ask the Lord can sometimes fulfill our desires, but sometimes he may direct us to the place where we get the actual benediction. So in this case, the Brahmana was fortunate that although he desired something, the Lord Shiva actually directs him to a place where he gets a real benediction. So he actually guides him to Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami is one of the 6 Goswamis, the direct disciples of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he asks, and he tells the Brahmana to go and meet Sanatana Goswami so that he will give him the best benediction. So when the Brahmana approached Sanatana Goswami, he noticed that Sanatana had a touchstone and he kept in the garbage. So Sanatana Goswami was living in Vrindavan, and he was a mendicant. He was just living in a small place and doing his bhajana and things. So he goes to the Brahmana, goes to Sanatana Goswami, and then he sees that there is a touchstone, but this touchstone is in the garbage. So then so this touchstone can turn iron into gold simply by contact. So now the mind of the Brahmana went to that touchstone. He thought, somewhere or other, if I can get that will be the greatest benediction. So he goes and asks Sanatana Goswami, can you give me that touchstone? And he says, yes, you can take there. It's in the garbage. So Sanatana Goswami gave him the touchstone, which seemed like the greatest blessing to the Brahmana, who went away gratified by the assurance of immense financial success. So he thought, like, just now I got jackpot. People like lottery here. So he got a big lottery. So he thinks his fortunes are changed forever. And now he's going to touch every iron piece and make it into gold. And just imagine what all he will do. So he was so happy, and he goes back home, and he goes and shares this with his wife. His wife was slightly more intelligent. She said, how can this be possible? How can Sanatana Goswami throw a touchstone into garbage? He must have something much more valuable than this. That's why he threw it outside. You should go and ask him, what is that is much more treasurable than this that he has got, that he did not care for this touchstone, and rather he threw it in the garbage. So now the Brahmana, now this doubt was coming in his mind, and then he goes back to Sanatana Goswami and he says, like, why did you keep this in garbage as if it has no value? I mean, if it is something is treasurable, how well do you protect it? Right? So I heard, as I said, I went to the West Coast, and they said that people, I kept my bag in the car, and they said, don't keep. They will break the window, they will take your laptop and leave the bag here. So carry that laptop with you and leave the bag there. So, people were like so afraid, and then they told one of the devotees' house. I went there, and they said the thieves came and they stole so many things. They thought nothing will happen, but from then they have multiple layers of protective birva kind of a thing, and something stored in other places so that their wealth is not lost. So you can see how much we protect some gold, some money with great attention. And now this Brahmana is thinking, how come this Sanatana Goswami kept it like nothing of, as if it is of no value. So he went, the Brahmana came back to Sanatana Goswami and asked, sir, if this is the best benediction, why did you keep it with the garbage? Sanatana Goswami replied that the touchstone was not the real or the best benediction. But Sanatana asked, are you prepared to take the best benediction from me? So Sanatana Goswami asking, are you prepared to take the best benediction? What is your answer? No? No. Yes or no? Yes? Only then the answer will come, otherwise the class ends here. So the Brahmana eagerly agreed to it. I see not great eagerness here, but Brahmana agreed with great eagerness, because he knew this is for fact. Otherwise this would not be real. I mean, because we don't see a touchstone here, it doesn't look so nice. But in the real case, when you see something like that, he was so eager. And then Sanatana Goswami told him one thing. He told, can you please throw that touchstone in Yamuna and come back? So are you willing to throw the touchstone, that which you are carrying in your hands, in your hearts? Yes? The story continues only after that. So we have to be in real life. So okay. So the Brahmana goes to the Yamuna and throws it in the river Yamuna, and he comes back. When the Brahmana returned, Sanatana Goswami initiated him with the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Can we all loudly say, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, by Lord Shiva's mercy, the Brahmana achieved the best benediction of all, the chanting of the holy names of the Lord in the association of pure devotee. So, there is a wonderful verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita that talks about why the holy name of the Lord is a greater touchstone than the touchstone that the Brahmana received. So it says, Nama Chintamani Krishnas Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nityam Mukto Abhinnatvam Nama Namino. The holy name of Krishna is transcendently blissful. The nature of holy name is that it's always blissful, that which we are always hankering for. We may have gold, but we may not have happiness. what is the value of gold and wealth, good wife, house, everything, but no happiness? What's the point? But this Nama Chintamani, the touchstone of holy name of Lord Krishna, is full of transcendental bliss. It bestows all spiritual benedictions, for it is Krishna himself, the reservoir of all pleasure. So it can bestow all spiritual benedictions. Actually, Krishna can also give material benedictions. And it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam that one can also worship Krishna for material benediction. But Krishna is so kind. He thinks, why are you asking for so little when I can give you so much? And therefore, sometimes he does not award the material benedictions. But we are so eager for material benedictions that we go and worship another demigod who can give us material benediction very quickly. But the Lord is very, very kind. We need to have faith that simply by worshipping the Lord Krishna, we get everything. So he bestows all spiritual benedictions, for it is Krishna himself, the reservoir of all pleasure. Krishna's name is complete, and it is the form of all transcendental mellows. So we are all hankering for rasa, a taste to experience, a taste of relationship. But the taste of highest relationship that we can experience is in the association with the Lord. And the Lord's name, as we will see, is non-different from the Lord. The Lord and his name are identical. So when we chant the name of the Lord, we are actually associating with the Lord, who is the bestower of all spiritual benedictions, who is full of transcendental bliss, for which we are all hankering. And then it is said, Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto. It is completely pure, not contaminated by the material qualities. No question of Maya, illusion. Krishna Surya Sama, Nahi Hoya Mayar Andakar. So wherever there is Krishna, who is like sun, and Maya is like darkness, wherever there is Krishna, there is no darkness. So wherever there is Krishna's name, there is no question of Maya or influence of material qualities. Krishna's name is always liberated and spiritual. It is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. So by chanting the name of the Lord, actually we get the highest benediction, the greatest benediction. So as we ask for something which is inexhaustible, we should ask for that devotion and faith by which we can chant the holy name of the Lord and hear it attentively every day. If we simply do, that will bring us the greatest benediction that we are all seeking, which we are not even aware of. So this marks an auspicious occasion where we can offer prayers to strengthen and ask for the real benediction from the Lord and from Goddess Lakshmi Devi, which will never perish. As it is said in Bhagavad Gita, that any amount of endeavor that one performs in devotional life again continues in next life. It never goes down to zero. The material wealth goes to zero again in the next life. The education goes to zero in the next life. But as far as the spiritual progress that one makes, it is never diminishing. It is always increasing. The nature of spiritual thing, it always expands. So we should ask for spiritual benedictions from the Lord on this occasion. And we will just chant a few times Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and next we will have Arti. So can we all chant together 3 times? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Gaunitai ki jai, Shri Radha Damodar Dev ki jai, Shri Akshaya Tritiya Mahamahotsav ki jai.